But yeah, I'm interested in clean energy and potentially getting back into the power industry. So I'm actually am currently looking at new roles, and that's probably relevant for high school or college listeners who are kind of thinking about what to do, because I'm even you know 7-8 years into a career and going through informational interviews and reaching out and tapping into my network and um, going after opportunities. So I think probably the process never really stops. Uh, Probably always want to cultivate that or be ready for the next opportunity, because you never know where it'll come from. I never thought I'd be making tattoo products.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because people, I feel like when you're in high school or college, parents or mentors or whoever are saying, oh, you should just call up your network and find out what they're doing and see if you like it. And it's really hard to even know what questions to ask at that point. Um, but in the same vein, you could be 7 or 8 years into your career and still trying to identify what you're interested in and how much you'd like to apply that to a job. So, like what Chris said, informational interview, just calling up people that he's met over the years, I guess, and asking them why they like what they do. I guess what's a little bit about your process there?
Yeah, this is relatively new process, by the way, Eric. Like within the past couple of months, but like a good example, I reached out to a connection on LinkedIn, a guy that went to NC State actually, and he works as a project developer for solar projects. And I kind of heard about it, done a little bit of reading on it, but I reached out to him and basically asked, "Hey, can I, here's like three of the main questions, right? Like, what what's the day to day look like? Um, what's your perfect customer or your perfect project? Um, you know, where has the industry been? And then like, where do you think it's going based off the work that you've done?" Questions like that, and kind of throw that at him and say, "Hey, if you have a few minutes to chat, I'd love to just pick your brain." I hate that expression, but pick your brain and get your ideas on this role and this career that you've kind of built for yourself. And I've really been surprised at how receptive people are. I mean, people are very open to, yeah, sure. I mean, I'll tell you about what I do, because it's kind of a no pressure situation. Um, so yeah, so I learned a lot about what a project developer for solar projects does, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot of travel, like the in terms of the travel requirements, education requirements, um, how long projects take, right? I mean, you've been in sales roles where sometimes the cycle is, 3 months, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 10 years. I mean, he'd been working on a wind farm project since he started 6 years ago. So my personality, no thanks. That's too long for me. But so yeah, they kind of learn a lot about what people are doing.
So yeah, that's cool. I think that's helpful. I think it's tough to ask those kinds of questions like as a college student. Like I remember my dad saying like, "Oh, call this person and quote unquote pick their brain." And it's like, what do you do? What do you do day to day? Can be answered so many different ways. And I guess hopefully now you have some idea of what you would want to hear, or hopefully someone is straightforward enough to say, well, I spend 4 hours of my time on meetings and 2 hours of my time on data entry, but it's generally not how it goes. So it's a tough question, and it can only help to hear answers. So I still recommend doing it, but it doesn't make it easy.
Yeah, it's kind of a chicken and the egg problem in a way, because like you said, when you're a college senior, I mean, whether or not you've had like work experience while you're in school, um, you don't really know you don't know what you don't know. So you can ask those questions, but you have no context for it.
Hmm.
But then once you work for a little bit, um, then you have some experience of, okay, I spent a year doing this. I had to go to the office every day. I spent 80% of my workday on a computer, or what have you.
Right.
Then you can compare what you hear from, if you do reach out to people in your network, or like your dad said, just call this guy up. You can you have a reference point to compare that to.
Lots of options out there. Can be overwhelming. However, people like Chris has made it work through a winding journey